something I've been thinking about for the last week or so. And yeah, when you have a kind of a theme or a little idea that's running, and then experiences in your own life, interactions that you have with other people, things that you observe, see, overhear, kind of feed into this filter or lens that you are kind of processing or, chewing over something with. And it's this idea of how comfortable are we to be with ourselves and to sit with ourselves, to allow there to be some space for presence and some space for connection. It could be in a quality of observation, it could be whilst actually doing something that's, generating energy, or, an activity that has a quality of busyness to it, but still within that, there is a way to really connect with how am I inside of this experience? How am I in this moment? What is present for me right now? And to be able to connect with this space doesn't require that we have, a darkened room somewhere with complete silence and, no distractions around. In fact, being able to tune in, say like tune out and tune in, is something that can be honed. You can practice this skill so that it becomes a reflex that you're able to, even in a busy space, busy environment, maybe even a noisy space, which I know can be really challenging, that kind of stimulation and distraction, we can still work with this reflex of being able to connect and check in and tune in, and just, it's a moment, it's a pause, it's a way of just ensuring that there is a line or a thread of connectivity between ourselves and the kind of awareness part. And actually, that the kind of lives that we live in this very kind of busy, fast-paced, demanding climate, it feels even more important, it feels even more pertinent to be able to develop that skill, to have that as a tool available to us, a resource that we can lean on, especially when we're in spaces that are maybe demanding a lot of us. And also that it's maybe something that, given how busy we are, given how fast-paced things are, that perhaps it's something that we do not kind of culturally, obviously I'm speaking specifically to my own reference point and my own kind of lived experience, cultural reference point, we don't actually give ourselves enough space and time to honour that kind of connection and to indulge in actually creating time for honing that, refining that, training that, working with that. And I do think it is a really valuable skill and a valuable tool. And my kind of question to go a little deeper then would be, what is it that is uncomfortable about the idea of sitting with yourself or being present with yourself or witnessing yourself, even just for a few moments or a few minutes? And an example of this in kind of shared spaces, as I describe this, phenomenon, if you like, of when you're thinking about something, you kind of see this thing that you're thinking about playing out in different spaces. And yeah, this idea of having to wait, needing to wait in a queue, or just needing to wait in a shared space where there's lots of things going on, lots of activity, and it requires a moment of patience, a moment of stillness, a moment of maybe gathering the energy and kind of coming away from this like busy, frenetic, kind of rushing around, doing, pushing, striving quality, to actually be like, okay, this is an opportunity to check in. This is an opportunity to meet myself. This is an opportunity to be with myself. And undeniably, there are times when it feels like that is not possible. In fact, I had a moment like that today where I had a choice about, okay, do I wait another 5 minutes or do I come back later when I'm, in a different quality of space? And I had some other things to do, and I decided to kind of use my time management to, negotiate that choice of like, no, I'll come back to this later. And it's interesting to recognize the distinction and difference of that and what was motivating that choice in that moment. Like, what was driving that impatience or that feeling of I can't feel totally comfortable and totally present in this space, or totally comfortable and totally present in myself for a few more minutes. I know in the back of my mind I was like, I've got a deadline and I've got something to send before a certain time, so I'll do that whilst I've got this window, and then I'll come back to do that later. But as a rule, I don't particularly like operating in that way. I know it's something that, I can do if the conditions and the pressure around me are kind of like pointing to that as like, your choices are limited here, and that feels like the lesser of two evils, if you like, in the moment. But what I prefer to do and what my energy prefers to do, based on what I know about myself and I know about my temperament and I know about my quality of enjoyment and engagement with experiences, is that during the day there are often points where there's an invitation to pause, there's an invitation to wait a minute, there's an invitation to just be on hold. And it's often conditions in the environment that we're reliant on something shifting, we're reliant on someone else doing something, we're reliant on something that is out with our control. And therefore there's a kind of loosening of grip and tightness around this driving and striving energy. And when that grip is loosened, we are then confronted with our energy when it is not pushing, when we're not trying to feel useful or trying to be busy, or to maybe unconsciously we're doing this, but actually to distract ourselves from our felt sense and our emotional landscape by continuing to do things that tie our energy up and kind of use up our battery levels, so that actually at the end of the day our energy is spent and there's nothing left, so we don't actually have to worry about or address the kind of emotional landscape, or the little niggle or something that kind of feels like maybe that we'd like some attention, but actually it doesn't get the attention because we're too tired and we've got no capacity left. And that's why I like to, where possible, try to recognize when there are moments throughout the day, in shared spaces, as I say, where the next stage of a process is reliant on someone else's assistance or input. And that might mean that we need to wait a little bit. We might just have to step back actually from that driving and director kind of role. And when we do that, we can actually take that opportunity to check in and be like, where am I? How am I? Like, how do I feel? What's going on? It doesn't even need to be as deeply probing as that. It can just be literally a moment of gathering yourself together and just taking a breath, or feeling into what is my body communicating. Just checking in, like, how grounded do I feel? How, or not grounded, do I feel? Where is my sense of location in my body or in relation to the space that I'm in? And when we start to ask or inquire, even on a very subtle level, those questions, we quickly get feedback. We're quickly met with I'm saying quickly, as we begin to refine that skill set and that like reflexive capacity and that kind of dialogue quality of being able to interpret those signals and understand them as being valuable and authentic indications of what is actually going on, as we're getting to know ourselves better and recognize, oh, when that comes up, that's what that means for me. Yes, that those kind of responses and signals that we get are able to offer us insight into, oh, well, actually there's something unsettled right now, or there's something that I feel discomfort or dis-ease and unease with about this sense of being confronted with my own energy, and what is that about, and that's kind of interesting to explore. And quite often that sense of unease or kind of ungroundedness is actually a communication related to what are my overall energy levels like right now, like, and where is my energy, like that feeling of yes, being met with a pause that pause maybe being initiated by external circumstances rather than, um, a decisive action in that moment to be like, okay, let's have a check-in point, but something in the environment that stimulates that, and then that being such a contrast in energy to where you previously were in your busyness, in your doing, in your kind of things being scattered and having a million different tasks going on at the same time, and your mind being in 10 different places. The actual pause point is the very thing that reveals that, and that in itself can create this sense of discomfort, because it is actually a clear communication of where we're spreading ourselves too thinly, or where we could be giving ourselves some more support or some more nourishment that we're maybe not. And I think this is particularly relevant to rest, particularly relevant to energy management. And I would say, yeah, as a theme or as something that has kind of sparked this for me or got me thinking about it on the personal level, because I'm kind of in a busier period at the moment and trying to kind of be mindful about how I am kind of managing my time and resource. I think, yeah, you're kind of tuned to that and you're dialed to that. But those are just some reflections that I thought I would bring forth and share, because it's interesting, and it's kind of got me kind of curious as well. What are the moments in which we allow ourselves to acknowledge maybe an unmet need in regards to, yeah, actually a pause point, and sometimes that can come quite abruptly to us, and maybe it was exactly the thing that we needed in that moment to it's like getting a little external nudge, or like a tap on your shoulder kind of situation of just saying, hey, just take a minute, take a breath. And sometimes that is exactly the kind of disruption that we need to help us connect and check in and reflect and ask ourselves, how are you doing? So if any of that is resonating with you, making sense to you, if you can think about ways that is presenting in your own experience and you want to share anecdotally, please do. And yeah,